Hola mujeres,
Hola.
bienvenidas a un nuevo episodio de Dos por Latinas.
En este mes de febrero.
Yay! So that's why, see, we're matching.
We did not plan this, by the way. I was like, I'm going to wear a power color today.
But it's, el febrero es Día del Amor y la Amistad. So, like, here we are trying to kind of like,
Get the vibe.
yeah, exactly. Stay, with the theme. But today, Rosie and I it's funny because we were having a conversation. This is how our topics come to life. And this is how
Just go to our WhatsApp messages.
Seriously. And today's topic actually came from last night where we were thinking about like, okay, what are we
After
gonna...
back and forth with different topics.
Yeah. What are we going to talk about, in this episode for this month? And then it just, we went down to like a rabbit hole. And then we talked about like, I was telling her about my mom. She's here and she's been kind of taking care of the kids while she's here. And she told me the other day, like, hey, I don't see you and, my husband going out or anything like since I've been here for the past.
Like, are you guys really a couple or
Yeah.
are you guys just parents?
And she's been here for 5 months now, kind of helping us out and like getting some things, done. And she told me the other day, like, did you guys ever like go out or like on a trip on your own?
Están actuando como hermanos ya? I'm not saying she said that.
No, but she was kind of questioning the fact that like we do so much on a daily basis, and she can see it that like I'm super busy, he's super busy. We got all these schedules, like all these things planned, like on our family board, like on our schedule,
a digital board in their kitchen.
Yes, everything's on there, but there's nothing on there about
Jana and husband,
myself and him. And so she was questioning, like, do you guys ever go out? Like, I feel like you guys have to do that for yourselves. And so she started giving me this like consejo, like, oh, like we say like pele lengua, right? Like, yeah, comenzó like, oh, but you guys are still young. Like, yeah, you got 2 kids, but like you gotta keep
someone else is gonna entertain him if you don't.
That, I mean, I didn't say it, she said it, but like that did come out of her mouth because
in
she's
our
Dominican.
culture, that's what they say.
Like, because she's Dominican. So yeah, she just mentioned like how we need to make sure that we still keep the spark alive because men tend to, I don't know, maybe go out there and get distracted and do other
Funny
things.
How women don't get distracted. Well, at least I don't.
But they do. So I thought that was a good way to, I don't know, like get us to talk about that because
we were saying like, oh, self-love, February, and then we're like, Jana's like, what my mom has been telling me, which is true. You have told me a couple times, but then there's also we're like, but we do it, but the guys don't plan anything for us. She starts telling me like, oh, dating, and I'm like, I don't do that shit. Like, my husband does not believe in that. I be telling, let's go on a solo trip. He's like, no, we have kids, and I'm like, you just don't even want to spend time with me. But through the conversation, you were here, kind of like we had a reality check, like why it really doesn't happen. So.
Yeah, and so we said, I was just kind of venting with Rosie, and I was just saying, well, like, I mean, if we have to plan for that or like make it happen, like normally it would fall on me to have to plan those things. And like, again, I have so much stuff that I have to like take care of. The kids, like always, like, because we talk about this all the time. Like as women, we tend to like wear many hats and we tend to take over.
Yeah.
The family, we're the family, what do we say, like we're the manager, the family manager.
Oh yeah. Because we're the eldest daughter, we're automatically the family manager,
right? So then we tend to like take over everything. So now because we're that way, and maybe like now we're wired that way because of that, our husbands just like automatically like, oh, she got it, or like they assume that because we're that way, they can rely on us and we will plan whatever for the both of us or for the entire family, which to me is kind of like unfair because it's like, okay, great. Like I was just talking to my husband today. He was like, I was telling Rosie that
I was waiting for you to say it, but I'm glad you're alluding to that.
Right.
Because I was going to say something.
Because I was like, today in this episode, we're talking about you guys, like you and Ernie, so Rosie's husband. He's like, why? And I'm like, well, because, like we're like, we have to, you know how we talk about like we have to do certain things like as in like date ourselves and like go out to dinner or like go on a trip or whatever, just the two of us, and you know how my mom has been saying those things, and I feel like I'm always the one having to plan those things, and like you never really do those things, and like I think it's a little, you know, for me it's a little annoying that I, you know, you have like it kind of falls on me. And then he said, well, the reason why I don't do those things is because like you're super controlling, and I feel like if I plan something, you're not gonna like it, or you're gonna have a un pero, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna like it, so you're gonna be like, oh no, why don't we do this? And my thing was like, yeah, I mean, yes, he has a point. I I am picky.
So if you are
Right, I get
relating
it.
to this, you're not alone.
I get it. However, the one thing I did mention is like, but have you ever tried,
Mm-hmm.
like attempted to even plan something so that you can see my reaction and then realize that whether or not like I will feel that way when you do those things. And so he stayed quiet, meaning that no,
You
he
have a point.
hasn't. So exactly, maybe you should start doing those things and then you can find out for yourself whether or not like I'm gonna actually come back and be like super controlling or whatever you think it is that, you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing according to you. So those are the things that we kind of like, oh, like, but we always have to plan it. We always have to do those things, and it's kind of dreading
Mm-hmm.
and exhausting that we already have to plan everything else for our families, and then also the date, the trip, the whatever, so that we can keep the spark alive.
La chispa. But like I told John, I'm like, well, I get his point because I was like, I don't even feel comfortable planning something for you because you're picky. Like you're very unique and you like things your certain way. And she's like,
That was
really?
I was shocked,
She's
honestly,
like,
and I was like,
really?
oh,
And
this is
I'm like, I don't know about the controlling, pero I see where he comes from, but and I see where you're come from. So it's definitely like meeting each other down the middle. And I feel that I think you should, well, you did talk about in the last episode, like you already have some planned stuff. Like Jana has already planned some stuff for them for this year for her birthday and also for Valentine's Day
yeah. I mean,
in
as a
this month.
planner and following my
Yes.
mom's advice, I took it upon myself to
But
do those
One,
things.
I think once he sees that and you already had a conversation with him, I know that he's gonna like start doing little things here and there. So it's just a month.
We will see.
Is take someone to start, taking the lead, and I know that he's gonna do it. Because I was asking John like, what would he do it before, and he's like, well, with guidance, but he would still do it because if you talk to me, like, has my husband ever taken me on a date? I would say nope, he has never taken me on a date. But then, should we talk about why some people don't
Then
do that?
right, and so that's one of the things that kind of opened my eyes when Rosie brought that up yesterday in our conversation, where she was like, "Well, but think about it." Not that she was trying to defend them. I'm sure she wasn't, but she was
Yeah,
just also being like,
realistic.
yeah, neutral and devil's advocate. Like, well, maybe like think about it. For my husband, he did lose his mom when he was very young. He was like 15 years old, so he couldn't see his dad doing those things with his mom like that, and like he probably doesn't remember before that
Hmm.
because
She was sick for
a long
probably from
time.
like his
Yeah,
10 to 15. Well, he could probably even remember.
right. So like if he didn't see his dad or his parents doing that, it would be kind of hard for him to actually model that and do that with me. So okay, that you have a point. And then for Ernie specifically, right, she
Hmm.
mentions that like his parents were separated.
Yeah, so he didn't grow up seeing like a father figure being a husband figure either. So it's like, okay, to him, he's doing his best. Like he's always, I give that props to him. Like at the beginning, it was really hard for me to understand, but now the more I see how, okay, this is how his upbringing is, this is how his family is. Like he doesn't have anyone to really learn that from. Even though, like, yes, people could learn that, but it takes time, it takes therapy, it takes having a role model. And at least I see that he's always striving and working to be better than what he grew up seeing. And then the other thing is, I Jana was like the fact that you know my love language. Like I brought Jana back to like I know if you guys don't know, her love language is gifts. So
And
give
let's
her a
say,
gift.
okay, but
Gift
let me be
giving.
yeah, but let me be specific though. Like when she says gifts, like it doesn't have to be like always like materialistic stuff.
Yeah.
It's like that, like if you plan something for me, like, oh, I
Mhm.
booked this. So, for example, like I did for Rosie's birthday,
Mhm.
literally like 2 days
This
ago,
week, yeah.
the 2 weeks, yeah, 2 days ago. I said, hey, I booked this. In fact, I think she posted about it on
Yeah.
our account. Like, book the self care, you're with your bestie or whatever.
Go on dates with your bestie,
So
something
I told her,
like that.
I know her birthday's coming up. So I was like, oh, and I know that she has this like, mental health, whatever, like she wants to focus on those things. And I'm like, you know what? For her birthday, I am gonna book us, massages. Like, we're gonna try this like stretch therapy. I guess there's a place that does that, so we're gonna try it out together. Like, it's a 30-minute, stretching session for the two of us, and then we're gonna go wine tasting. So to me, like, if that's a gift that I would
Mhm.
also love for someone to, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, to plan for me. And I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like that kind of fills me up. And I'm like, oh, because that's my love language,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of like my expectation.
Yeah. But I asked you, like, does he still give you gifts? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, but at least he's doing something that he knows that you enjoy because he knows that you like gifts. So it's like, trying to see it that way, seeing the balance. Um, and then we went into the conversation on why, like, even though it's hard for us as the wife and the mom and all the million hats that we wear, why do we have to, like, all right, just let go of our ego and say, like, why doesn't he do it for me? He doesn't do anything for me. Is because we don't want our kids. We both have boys, we both have girls, and it's like, what example are we setting for them? So
That.
so that's what I have had to learn. I'm like, if I'm gonna stay in this relationship, how do I want my kids to be seeing how daddy and I are? So it's like, for yeah, we don't go out on dates, but at least they know, like, hey, we're going on a family vacation. They know that, hey, mommy and daddy are gonna be respectful of each other. Like, I spoke about this in a different episode. Like, the last family trip we went on, like, my family was saying, like, wow, you guys have changed. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't really know. I think I just kind of like put my guard down a little bit and expectations. Um, but then we were like, but remember how our husbands didn't have an example. So do we want our kids to have an example? So that's also like another motivation of why, hey, if you're not dating or doing a little trip on just solo trip, or even at home, like I see a whole bunch of stuff on social media, like, you don't have to leave your house to go on a date, because sometimes it's not realistic for everyone, but it's
Right.
just having that bonding time of keeping that spark of knowing what each other likes.
And that's, that's great that you're mentioning that, because the other part of it is that, and we talk about this all the time, is also the support that we get from like our significant other. So like for me, yes, I would appreciate if he was more, like romantic and like, oh, I'm gonna plan this, I'm gonna plan that. However, there's a balance, right? Like he may not be that way, but at home, he absolutely like 100% helps me. And for us, it's 50% him, 50% me. And sometimes 100% him, 100% me. Like it just depends on what's
Hmm.
going on. And he is present, he is available, he makes it happen, and he helps in any way he can with like all the things that we need to do at home, right? Like the laundry, the dishes, the whatever needs to happen, like putting the kids to bed, or like like when we talked about like traveling, and when I'm the one traveling, which in fact I have to travel, it's coming up now in February, and he's the one staying with the kids. Like granted, he will have help from my mom, but he's still the main parent, and he
Hmm.
still is expected to do mostly all the things that I'm normally doing, right? Or that we
Hmm.
split, the both of us, even if
Yeah.
my mom's here. So, and he does a great job when I'm not here, and making sure that the kids have everything they need. So, yes, what would I like that he would be more, I don't know, romantic and like plans all these other
Hmm.
things, like that would be great, but it's also not something that,
That
you know
that's
what I
when
mean?
they say, like, really, you think I don't love you? You think I don't
Yeah,
care about you? That this and that? Like, I'm doing all of this because that's the way of them showing love. Like,
right.
that's the way of them saying, like, I'm being a better husband than what I saw my dad be, and you're still like saying that I don't do this, I don't do that for you.
Right.
So that's what
So I
like
think
I have noticed.
right. So we kind of have to be like, again, we kind of have to be
We don't have to
understanding.
settle, but it's
Yeah.
a process.
Right. And we have to be understanding, right? Like, and know that, yeah, he may not be the like super
Lovey
romantic person,
dovey.
right? But in other areas of our lives, like he's killing it, right? Like, and he's helping you, and he's supporting you. He's like actually being the husband and the dad that you want him to be for like for you and for your family. So I guess, there's a balance, right?
And I I would never forget this. Like I wasn't even married yet, and I was listening to it was like it's called like Family Life, something on the radio, and it was like, woman, men do not know what you want. Men cannot read your mind. You need to specifically tell them what you want. So, like for you, John, is like now you can specifically tell him, like, you know what, I want you this year to take me
to,
X, Y,
to
Z.
do
So I don't know what
XYZ.
you're gonna do to make it happen, but I need you to do that. Like
And
so to
that's good.
me,
That's good because they're different than us, right? They're
yeah.
wired differently, and we have to understand that. And as long as we, I guess, communicate our needs and let them
Hmm.
know specifically what we're looking for from them, then, I guess that changes the whole dynamic. But it's just like, I don't know, I'm the type of person, I'm just like, I'm expecting that, like, I don't want to be the one planning all these things. Like, I kind of want you to also take the lead on those things, but it's, but again, like you said, like, well, now I voiced that. And now he knows that in the future, like, okay, now I should probably
Yeah.
you step it up and like,
Then you should be concerned, like, oh,
right,
okay.
exactly.
Like
But all in all, and everything we just said right now, like we still want to make sure that, like, just like my mom said, like going back to the
keep the
topic,
spark alive.
yes, because if you have been together for a long time, which like we've been together for married, um 14 years this year will be, and then together overall like 17 years. So that's a long time for someone because we married early.
Same here, 12 years and wait, 12, 5. Oh my gosh. So yeah, 17 years together, like
Right.
8 and 5, been married 12.
So and that sounds like a lot
So
because
that's
and,
when
and
you
we're
really
not that
want to keep
old.
that spark.
We're not that old. We're only like we're gonna be 34 this year. It's just that we got married a little early. Because we knew what we wanted, in our 20s. So, all of that to say that if you have been together for so long and you also have kids and you also have jobs and you also have all these other responsibilities, we have to try, because that was eye opening, the fact that my mom, like, I completely forgot that, like, I needed to make sure
That
that
you guys exist as a couple, not just
right, not just like the
parents and keeping this house running.
exactly. And so that was eye opening that my mom had to bring that up and like actually talk to me about it for me to realize that, like, oh my God, yeah, it's been a while since we actually went out on a date or we actually took a trip to, somewhere just the two of us. And so that got me thinking. And yes, like she said, like we made plans, like I already planned those things around, what my mom
Yeah.
mentioned. So we want to make sure that you two do the same thing. Like again, whether that be we talked about like our own experiences and what we are going through and what like our expectations are, I guess. But I guess like whatever that looks like for you, whether it be like you planning it or having the conversation with your significant other to let them know that you're expecting them to, voice that because they're not, like you said, they're not they're
Yeah.
not mind readers.
Yeah.
So whether it's you or whether you voice that to him, make sure that you make time to do those things because it is very important. And when you do go out as a couple, like for trips or a dinner, a date, make sure you also don't talk about your kids. That you actually talk about yourselves and like personally, like how you both
Mhm.
are feeling, what has happened within the past, I don't know, whatever long you haven't been able to like go out the two of you together, like as people, like as you and him, what's going
Yeah.
on, have those conversations and don't bring in the kids conversation
Yeah.
because I think we have a habit to
That's
still talk
what our
about like
world revolves around.
right. So but we have to be able to find the time to just talk about each other, like the two of us. And even like one of the other things that you can do, just going back to Rose's topic about like you don't have to go it doesn't have to be super fancy, like going out on the day or the trip. But there's so many things out there. Like I literally recently saw on, I think it was Instagram, that there's this little carts, like I don't know, there's a bunch of them out there. There's
Oh my gosh, I was gonna bring that today. I got Valentine's cards at Target for $1 and it's 10 little coupons and you pull it out and then you get to do that. It's like, oh, you buy each other coffee or you I don't know, it's like activities, but it was for
right,
Valentine's.
but they also
I
have
was gonna
those.
bring that for this episode, I forgot.
They also have those for couples. So
Mhm.
there's like a ton out there. Like if you even go to Amazon and type like couples ideas, the date night ideas or whatever,
Yeah, and those
they
cards that ask you
they
questions. on
show
it.
you, yeah, like it has questions or it has like activities that it's not only like going out on a date. Like
Yeah.
you could go on a date like in your home, or like just like some of the things that I saw, like for example, right? Like making pizza at home, like literally from scratch, the two of you, right? And
Mhm.
finding maybe someone that can take care of the kids while you do that, like you little date night at home. And then I saw
Or
like,
after they're in bed.
or that, or after
Since
they're
you guys
in
are good
bed.
at that.
For sure, if you have a bedtime routine, right? So like things like that, or like sip like wine and like painting, like just buying those little canvas and like doing that, or movie night, like where you watch like literally like adult movie, not like that, but like like an adult, like I said, like not PG-13.
Yeah,
You know what
we're
I mean?
always planning stuff for our kids, but then how come we need to make it a norm to plan stuff for us as a couple, like you guys as a couple?
Right.
Um,
So there's really a lot of affordable ways, right, to be able to do those things, like the two of you. And the other things, like at night, like one of the things that I intentionally, like my husband and I talked about this not too long ago, is that we said, for 2024, because we tend to be on our phones the moment we go to bed and lay in bed right before bedtime. And I mean, Rosie knows this because I've been like sending reels left and right.
the relation, what is it called? Relationships. I've been saying that. Like you
Yeah.
guys don't have a relationship. You guys have a relationship. Like you just
Yeah,
send
and
reels to each other all
we just
night.
send reels to each other. So I was like, you know what? We gotta stop this. Like we have to intentionally, the both of us talked about it. And it was like, once we go to bed,
Like you're
like,
going to bed together, but you're really going to bed together?
and even if we're
Like
if
the
we're
same
not going
time?
if we're
Like
not going in bed, like if we're not going to bed together, let's say like he's still catching up on stuff, whatever, down here, and I'm already in bed, or vice versa, where he's in bed and I'm still catching up on things. Like I allow, like it's okay, you can be on your phone while you're alone in bed until I get there, or until he gets to bed. The moment he gets in bed or I get in bed and we're the two of us are in bed, like we stop.
you gotta start timing what time you guys go to bed, so I stop messaging you late because I'm the night owl.
So that's one of our goals for 2024. So as a couple, knowing that like we have to, continue to like get to know each other and build this relationship that we've been, having for the past whatever 16, 17 years. Like those are habits that we have to break, and we have to be intentional about, like just like having a conversation after a long day, right?
Yeah.
That is not just like work or the kids, like it's also about us. So like putting the phone away, like okay, now we're in bed together, it's like 10 p.m and we're still not sleepy, so maybe like 30 minutes of talking, just like the two of us talking, whatever it may be, but at least it's just the two of us talking and not like on the phone.
Fun time. Mommy and daddy fun time.
Yeah, like we're just like having a conversation before we go to bed, and things like that. So like we're trying to be intentional, so that those are the little things that you could like try to do. Also, in pockets where you find, whenever you have the time. So again, doesn't have to be like a very elaborate, like, oh, we're gonna go out and we're gonna do this and this and this and that, so that we can both, feel whatever this way and connect with each other. Like, no, you can incorporate this into
Yeah.
your daily life and find those little moments, right? Like even if it's like a weekday, and we know like weekdays are super busy and chaotic, right? Like especially if you work and like everyone has their schedule. But even like before bed, when like when we're getting the kitchen clean or whatever, like we can have a conversation while we're getting that stuff and picking
Or
up
you
after
can
the
have a
kids.
quickie between cleaning the kitchen. I so believe in quickies because
however that looks like for you, right? Well, however comfortable you feel like doing whatever, right? like do those things. Like it doesn't have to be planned, but like you can intentionally find a time during your day before bedtime or whatever to still connect and have those little conversations or whatever, just like just the two of you. So
Yeah, let me quickly give you guys what I was thinking about this morning while in the shower. I don't know why, but I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks of things in the shower, my
oh, I
best
do too.
ideas. And I was like, what am I gonna do to like be intentional with dating? Because John was like, oh, when was the last time? Like, we don't do that. But we did like 2 years ago. We went to his aunt's house in New York alone. It was really nice because she's also very like pro Ernie and Rosie being just a couple. So that was nice. But then he's always like, I don't like eating out because he's a truck driver, so he has to eat fast food. But I was thinking like, wow, I don't have like a nice outfit that I say like I bought this to go out with my husband, but I have all these outfits that I buy because I'm gonna go look work. I'm gonna go on a work travel, and I'm like, how come I don't do that? Like, so that was like my reflection this morning. And I'm like, and I'm sure I could go and book something like at a nice restaurant for my husband and I, even though he says he doesn't like to go out. But I know that if I get him in a nice dress and I say, "Hey, we're gonna go here," he's gonna like it because it's when when you were saying like, "Oh, um like your husband might think like, oh, you may not like it or because you're controlling." Well, like you said, like whatever, if he even takes me to the freaking park to eat ice cream, I'm
Right, like
gonna
that,
like it,
right?
right?
Like it doesn't
So
matter. I don't know why I give such a to you too, because I was that was a shocker for me. Like I don't know why I give that vibe that like whatever people plan for me, I'm too picky that I'm
to
not
just
gonna
even gift
like
you
it.
to just even gift you something. So
That's now I'm like a check. I think that I have to like.
let's talk to your sister and see if she feels the same way.
Anywho,
No, pero just wanted to, just say that like even like you heard Jana's side, like yes, they have gone on couples trip, they're gonna go on one, and you hear my side, we're always a complete opposite. Like dating, that's not a thing, that's not something that my kids see, even though I would like them to. So hopefully it does happen. I'll be more intentional. But just give you the ideas, like start thinking about like how you do plan stuff in your life for other people or other things in your life, and how can you start planning for things in your relationship to keep that spark alive. Like it doesn't have to be like Jana said going out, but like how do you feel that you see that you keep other relationships sparked up, that you could do that with your own long-term intimate relationship. So
yeah. So thank you so much for listening today to our
yeah,
little
and this month
conversation.
in February be the perfect time to get started.
And a quick plug.
Yes.
Remember that we created that mini course on self care. So again, perfect
That's
timing.
another date opportunity, the idea. And also, besides, I was thinking, like, there's other types of relationships, like if it's with friends, and the most important one, yourself, or a parent, an aunt, like someone that you love very much. How about you gift that mini self care course for this year and plan out that board? And that's how you'll see, hey, how can I start building a relationship? Because once you see what are their self care needs, that's how you could be like John and I and be like, hey, Rosie, I scheduled us a therapy. You're whining because she's already seen what's my need. So if she knew, like, hey, my need right now is like, oh my gosh, for my self care is my image. I need to like update my fashion wardrobe. She probably been like, hey Rosie, I booked some time for us to go to the outlet and I got you a gift card. We're gonna go give you a little makeover. So just saying that because it's so important when you know what people's self care needs are. So just wanted to add on like your spouses, your long term partner, whatever type of relationship you are, is what is your self care need at that time. So
Yeah.
hopefully in the next episode we're like sharing more of what we like. You're gonna go on a date in February. For me, who knows what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do. But feel free to send us via a DM on Instagram, like, hey, I connected with you, like can we bounce off ideas. We want to make sure, we just want to keep reminding you that we're here to just keep a conversation going on our social media with you. Like if you want to do it private that way, or you can start giving us some comments here on our YouTube channel or also on our show notes on Spotify. Now you can have a Q&A. So thank you so much for joining and give yourself lots of love en este mes del amor y la amistad.
Hasta la próxima.
Ciao.
Chao.